All right, let's dive into a topic that you've probably seen everywhere online. It's often surrounded by some pretty wild claims and, let's be honest, a lot of myths. We're talking about semen retention. But today, we're going to cut through all that noise. We're going to look at the science, figure out what this is really all about, and why it's less about the act itself and more about managing your own personal energy.
This quote really just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It frames the whole conversation perfectly. This isn't about sin or morality or feeling guilty. It's a much more practical question. Are you wasting your most valuable resource, your energy? That's the whole game right there. It's a shift in thinking from the physical act to how you invest your own vitality.
So, before we get any deeper into the idea of retention, let's just get one thing straight from a scientific point of view. Ejaculation is a completely normal, natural, biological process. Medically speaking, it's not harmful. That's our ground zero, our factual starting point for everything else we're about to talk about.
Okay, so to really get why retention is even a thing, we first have to ask, what exactly is being retained? I mean, why does the body put so much effort into creating this fluid in the first place?
Let's take a look under the hood. And wow, it's actually way more complex than you might think. We're not just talking about sperm here. This stuff is a literal cocktail of valuable nutrients. You've got protein, essential minerals like zinc, which by the way is directly linked to testosterone and your immune system. You've got B vitamins, calcium, magnesium, even fructose, which is basically rocket fuel for the sperm. So you can see why the whole retention argument exists, right? The body's packing this fluid with some seriously high-value ingredients.
Okay, so if it's natural and full of nutrients, what's the big deal? Well, this brings us to the real heart of the concern for a lot of people, the potential downside of overuse. And that word, overuse, is absolutely everything.
And this is where we need to draw a really clear line in the sand. On one side, you have a totally natural, harmless biological process. But on the other side, you have a habit that becomes excessive, something that starts to get in the way of your mental clarity, your physical energy, or even your day-to-day life. The entire debate lives right there, in the space between normal and excessive.
So, what does excessive feel like? Mentally, the things people report sound a lot like burnout. Having a hard time focusing, that cloudy brain fog feeling, a real drop in motivation, and even self-confidence. And of course, this is often tied to the risk of porn addiction, which is a whole other beast that can seriously mess with your brain's reward system.
And physically, it can show up as just feeling drained, general fatigue, low energy, maybe even feeling weaker at the gym. In terms of your sex life, it can create a really nasty feedback loop of performance anxiety or finding yourself less interested in a real intimate connection with a partner, especially if the habit is tied to watching a lot of porn.
Now, I have to stop here and make this crystal clear. We are not talking about a normal, healthy sex life. Not at all. These potential problems are specifically linked to habits that have become compulsive, excessive, and out of control. The key word, as it is with so many things in life, is balance. All right, so we've talked about the potential pitfalls of getting out of balance. So now, let's flip the script. Let's look at the other side of the coin. What are the supposed benefits of practicing discipline and redirecting all that conserved energy?
Here's the thing you have to understand. The benefits aren't just going to magically appear because you stop doing something. It's an active process. It's not passive. Think of it like this. Step one, you have to consciously point that energy somewhere else, towards a goal, a hobby, your work. Step two, you build up that muscle of self-discipline to keep it going. And step three, you support that whole system with healthy habits that ground you, like exercise and meditation.
So what happens when you actually do that, when that energy gets channeled? Well, the people who practice this talk about a whole range of pretty awesome benefits. Higher energy levels, for one, sharper focus and concentration, a real feeling of stronger willpower. Many report a big boost in confidence, better control over their emotions, and yeah, there's even some science that suggests a short-term bump in testosterone levels.
Now, like I said at the beginning, this topic is an absolute minefield of misinformation, and frankly, just plain weird old wives' tales. So it is super important that we take a minute and just bust some of the biggest myths you've probably heard. Let's do this.
Okay, let's just go down the list rapid fire. Myth number one drop of semen is equal to 40 drops of blood. The reality? There is zero, zilch, no scientific proof of that. It's an ancient myth. Next up, releasing semen weakens your bones. Again, completely unsupported by modern science. And finally, the big one, the moral argument. It's always wrong to release semen. As we've already established, science sees it as a perfectly natural, normal process.
So, now that we've cleared away some of that fiction, what's the final word? let's ground this whole conversation in what the actual medical community has to say about it all.
And you know what? The medical consensus is actually really clear and pretty reassuring. First off, normal masturbation is considered safe and healthy, point blank. Second, your body is literally designed to replenish semen. It's doing it all the time. And third, the problem is never the act itself. The problem only, and I mean only, arises when it becomes a compulsive habit or an addiction that gets in the way of your life, your mental health, your relationships, your goals.
And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started this whole thing. The true goal here was never really about just saving a fluid. It's so much bigger than that. It's about consciously deciding to invest your most precious resource, your personal energy, into the things that will actually build the life that you want to live. So you see, in the end, this conversation was never really about biology. It's about focus. It's about discipline. It's about personal power. The real question was never about what you're holding onto. It's about what you're building. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Where are you going to focus your energy?